Good morning, BUC.
Good morning.
I'm Brian Shandoval. I am a member of the welcome team here at Birmingham Unitarian Church. Welcome to all. Whether you're visiting us for the first time or have been here many times before, whether you are joining us here in the sanctuary, remotely on Zoom, or watching this recording later, it's good to connect with you. Today, children will be with us in the sanctuary to hear a story before heading to their activities. The family room, just to the left at the back of the sanctuary, with audio of the service piped in, is open for parents and children. Care is also available in the nursery on the lower level for infants and children through age 5. By greeting our virtual neighbors, we build a bridge between online and in-person participants. First, we will project on the screen the image of folks who are currently on Zoom, and we ask you to show yourselves and give us a wave. There they are. Okay. And now we invite you, who are gathered here in person, to turn to the camera, face the camera at the back of the sanctuary, and give the folks out there a wave. If you are with us in person, we invite you to join us after the service for coffee and conversation in the Hodis Hall, which is located to the left after you exit the sanctuary. Our newcomer table is in place there, where visitors and newcomers can meet and chat with members of the congregation and with each other. All are encouraged to drop by. Just look for the colorful sign. If you're with us on Zoom, we invite you to stay on the call for a virtual coffee hour immediately after the service ends. Whenever and however we connect with BUC, we are building this beloved community.
We light our chalice, symbol of our faith, for truth sought through a questioning heart and an attentive mind, and for love pursued through obstacles inside and outside our own human heart, and for forgiveness, for all it entails, the place where truth and love meet and merge.
We invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing Break Not the Circle, hymn number 323. We gather in religious community, celebrating the gifts of life, recognizing our part in the greater wholeness, lifting up those things that are worthy of our consideration, learning to be our best selves.
Our story for today is The Grudge Keeper by Mara Rockcliffe. No one in the town of Bonny Ripple ever kept a grudge. No one, that is, except old Cornelius, the grudge keeper. Ruffled feathers, petty snits, minor tiffs, and major huffs, insults, umbrage, squabbles, dust-ups, and imbroglios. The grudge keeper received them all, at large and small, tucking each one away in his ramshackle cottage. When Minnie Fletcher's goat gulped down Elvira Boggs' prize-winning zinnias, Elvira marched right over to the grudge keeper to file a complaint. When mischievous Sylvester Quincy snagged Mr. Crenshaw's toupee, Mr. Crenshaw took terrible offense straight to the grudge keeper. When Big Otto stomped on Lilybell's new shoes at the spring fling, she limped off to Cornelius and flung her accusations at his feet. As time went by, the grudges piled up. They filled the fireplace. They overflowed the tub. Cornelius jammed them and crammed them into every crack and corner, but they kept on coming. Then one day, a wind rose. At first, it was a gentle breeze. Laundry fluttered on the lines. Lilybell's best flowered bonnet skipped away. Big Otto captured it and brought it back, but Lilybell just grumbled that the petals were all out of place. Soon the wind grew stronger. Shutters shook and cupboards rattled. Minnie Fletcher's fresh-baked lemon pie slid right off the windowsill and landed on Elvira's cat. The wind ran riot through the schoolhouse, overturning inkpots and hurling chalk. Mr. Crenshaw's toupee flew off his head and sailed outside, where Minnie Fletcher's goat gobbled it up. Night fell, but no candle would stay lit. The people huddled with their grudges in the darkness, listening to the hissing, howling, creaking, crashing, moaning, groaning, whistling wind. At last, the wind sputtered, slowed, and stopped. The townspeople crept into the morning light. Clutching their new grudges, they set off for the grudge keeper's cottage. But what was this? The wind had mixed and mingled, tossed and turned, tumbled and jumbled, and finally dumped the rumpled, crumpled grudges in one whopping pile. Nothing was where it should be. Squabbles were scrambled with quibbles. Low blows rested high in the pile. High dudgeon had drifted down low. And the left-handed compliments had landed on the right-hand side. The townspeople crowded around the mountain of grudge, pushing, grabbing, shoving, shouting, "Gimme that! Me first! And that's mine!" In the hubbub, no one heard the feeble groan that squeezed out from the bottom of the pile. No one but Sylvester Quincy. "It's Cornelius!" he cried. Cornelius? The shouts and shoving stopped. Why hadn't anybody thought to wonder where the grudge keeper had gone? Sylvester Quincy dove in first. Slowly, the others followed suit. Grudges scattered like confetti as they worked to dig Cornelius out of the pile. Minnie Fletcher found a grudge labeled "Goats Who Make Pigs of Themselves." Holding it out to Elvira, she said, I'm sorry about your zinnias. Elvira looked at her old, worn-out grudge. What do I need with that, she said, and fed the grudge to Minnie Fletcher's goat. Sylvester Crenshaw smoothed out a snit called Sassy Spitball Spraying School Children. He glanced at Sylvester Quincy, then, with a shrug, he rolled it up again and flung it far away. I found a bone to pick, Big Otto said to Lilybell. I think this is yours. Lilybell blushed and tossed the bone to the pet peeves. Cornelius staggered to his feet and stared around. The grudges, he cried. Where have they all gone? Big Otto eyed Elvira Bogg. Minnie Fletcher sneaked a guilty look at Lilybell. Mr. Crenshaw shuffled his feet. Tiffs and huffs, squabbles and quibbles, all the grudges had been tossed away, down to the last scrap of pique. Not a single grudge remained. Suddenly, with a yowl, Elvira's cat shot through the crowd. Elvira stumbled into Minnie Fletcher, Minnie crashed into Big Otto, and Big Otto toppled over right on top of Lilybell. Cornelius stood ready to receive the grudges, but they didn't come. Instead, Minnie helped Elvira to her feet. Nice bumping into you, she said. I've fallen for you, Lilybell, said Big Otto. Please marry me. Lilybell laughed. I guess I've fallen for you too. Everyone cheered, except for Mr. Crenshaw, who scowled at Sylvester Quincy. Don't think I didn't see you pulling that cat's tail, he said, and then he winked. Everyone in town turned out for the big wedding. Elvira Bogg sneaked cake under the table until Minnie Fletcher grinned and told her, you can't get my goat. And when Big Otto waltzed his brand new bride right into the punch bowl, Lilybell just giggled. You're not mad, he asked. Of course I am, she said. Mad about you. From then on, no one in the town of Bonny Ripple ever kept a grudge. Not even Cornelius. What with overflowing cupboards full of friendliness and shelves stuffed with smiles, the tabletops heaped high with hugs, he simply didn't have the room. At this time, we'll have our children and youth join us in the pavilion as we head off to our classes.
The mission of Birmingham Unitarian Church is to be a free and welcoming religious community that encourages lives of integrity, learning, service, and joy. One way we live out this mission is by giving half of our weekly offering to a nonprofit organization that shares our values and addresses needs in the community. To suggest a nonprofit for this donation, please check the BUC website under Justice to find the application form. Our recipient today, through the end of September, is one of our cherished community projects, support of Walt Whitman Elementary School in Pontiac. Since 1998, BUC volunteers have fostered learning for kindergarten through fifth grade students by stocking and operating a mobile library in the school known to the students as the book trolley. We also do some tutoring and conduct other programs that help students learn and feel supported by their community. Your offering will be used to buy books for the mobile library, supplies for our programs, and occasional necessities for the students. This service is provided under the banner of Communities United for Children. Thank you for your continuing support of this program. The ushers will now receive this morning's offering, given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude. This offering is dedicated to the good work of the Walt Whitman School and this congregation.
May all that is unforgiven in you be released. May your fears yield their deepest tranquilities. May all that is unlived in you blossom into a future graced with love. We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows. The joys and sorrows of the congregation that are shared with us this morning are these. From Alice Failert, my joy is Michael Block's second heart procedure was a success, and he is out of AFib and doesn't have to worry about blood clots. She says modern medicine is wonderful. From Paula Olson, my husband was hospitalized for several days due to complications with his cancer treatment. We remember those experiencing losses and those facing health challenges. We pray, in whatever way we pray, for all those affected by war, by hatred and violence. We pray for peace. The cares of the world are many. Even when the cares of the world weigh on us, may we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us take care of one another and ourselves in all the ways we can. Let us make this a safe and welcoming place for all. As we hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows, whether spoken or unspoken, let's take a moment to be quiet together. Please join in singing Return Again, hymn number 1011.
Our reading this morning is a poem entitled Thanks, Robert Frost, by David Ray. Do you have hope for the future? Someone asked Robert Frost toward the end. Yes, and even for the past, he replied, that it will turn out to have been all right for what it was, something we can accept, mistakes made by the selves we had to be, not able to be perhaps what we wished, or what, looking back, half the time it seems we could so easily have been or ought. The future, yes, and even for the past, that it will become something we can bear. And I too, and my children, so I hope, will recall as not too heavy the tug of those albatrosses I sadly placed upon their tender necks. Hope for the past. Yes, old Frost, your words provide that courage, and it brings strange peace that itself passes into past, easier to bear because you said it, rather casually, as snow went on falling in Vermont years ago.
Forgiveness is difficult. Forgiving and forgetting may be impossible. Forgiving and remembering may be more attainable as well as more useful. Maybe we can find a way to remember and yet forgive anyway. For a while, I was holding on to one or two unforgivenesses. I tried the word grudge, but that word felt trivial in relation to what I was feeling. So I'll call them unforgivenesses. I wasn't ready or wasn't able or just didn't want to give them up. For a while, my interior dialogue between my best self and my not-so-best self about a transgression that at the time I considered pretty serious went something like this. You should forgive. I don't want to. Have you forgiven yet? I don't want to. But forgiveness would be good for you. I don't want to. For a while, that's where I needed to stay. When I was ready, I called, we talked, and we moved on. And my heart feels lighter than it once did. This must be how forgiveness feels. Forgiveness can be a difficult process of working through pain that we have caused others or that others have caused us. Unitarian Universalist minister Victoria Safford describes the practice of the Jewish high holidays. She writes, imagine this. On the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, every fall, every year, the people make their peace with anyone they have wronged or slighted or injured or in any way neglected in the past 12 months. The task is not to patch things up, smooth things over, reach a compromise, or sweep mistakes and uneasy memories under the rug. The task is not to feel better. The task is ownership. The goal is truth for its own redemptive sake. I did this. I said this to you, and it was wrong. I neglected this. I botched this. I betrayed you thusly. I demeaned you, whether you ever knew it or not. This is the truth in which both of us are living. I ask you to forgive me. Imagine how many deep breaths you would need to take. Imagine how many doors you'd have to knock on, how many phone calls you'd have to make, how many letters, how many lunches and coffees, how many awkward moments with your children and your parents, and even with strangers. Awkward is irrelevant. The task is not about comfort. It is about truth, about wholeness and holiness, restoration. Imagine this. Someone has been preparing all year to speak with you, to write to you, to ask you a hard question. Perhaps in some way not quite conscious, you have even known this. And you have been preparing too. Finally, you answer the door or the phone or open the letter with shaky hands, and there it is. What you thought you'd been longing for but really have dreaded. Someone is asking your forgiveness. The task is not about comfort. It is about truth. Awkward is irrelevant. You get to choose now. You have to choose whether and how you will participate in restoration. Abandon the pleasant piety that claims knee-jerk forgiveness as the unquestioned moral course. You get to choose which way will be right in this case, between you as persons and with all your gods. What response will make the world more whole? Imagine something yearns in us to come round right, something creaky, rusty, heavy, almost calcified within us tries in spite of us, and of all our fears and self-deceptions, to turn and creak and turn again and come round a little truer. Something in us stretches toward conversion. Imagine healing wholly from within. My father and I had a rocky relationship. When I figured out that he had a diagnosable mental illness, my very mixed feelings included relief at finding an explanation for why I found it so difficult to reason with him. At a point when my father and I were not in close touch, I became aware that he had gone missing. After many phone calls and a late-night drive to the city where he lived, I located him in the psychiatric hospital where he had been admitted. When I walked into my father's room that night, he was sitting on the side of his bed, looking as if he had been waiting for me, which maybe he had been. When he saw me, he immediately said, "I forgive you for your shortcomings." He didn't specify what he thought those shortcomings were, although I suspect that some of them were the same things that he considered shortcomings in himself. When he said, "I forgive you for your shortcomings," the only thing I could think of to say was, "Thank you." And then he asked, "Do you forgive me for mine?" This did not seem like the time for an assessment of my complicated feelings on the subject. I said, "Yes, I forgive you for yours." And somehow that forgiveness went deeper than words, and something was released in me. The forgiveness that my father and I shared very close to the end of his life lightens my heart. Of course, there are the little things that happen every day. We do something or say something we shouldn't. We say, "I'm sorry." The other person says, "No problem." Someone else does something or says something they shouldn't. They say, "I apologize," and we say, "Apology accepted." And for most of those little things that happen every day, forgiveness is complete. Sometimes forgiveness is as simple as letting it go. Often it's much more complicated. What about the transgressions that are not only unforgettable but unforgivable? What if the transgressor hasn't asked for forgiveness or doesn't want it or even think they need it? It can be particularly difficult to forgive someone who doesn't acknowledge their wrongdoing. How can we forgive someone who doesn't recognize what they did, or who defends themselves against accepting that they wronged us or hurt us? Forgiveness is difficult. Forgiving and forgetting may be impossible. Forgiving and remembering may be more attainable as well as more useful. Maybe we can find a way to remember and yet forgive anyway. Sometimes forgiveness can be a gift of grace, which does not need to be earned or deserved, that we give to someone else. But forgiveness is not necessarily something that we do for the other person. Forgiveness can be something we do for ourselves to lighten our own hearts. It can be a gift to tell someone that we have forgiven them. But maybe even more important is the gift we give ourselves by forgiving another person, whether or not that person even knows that we have forgiven them. Sometimes forgiveness may be a matter of deciding that the relationship with another person is more important than the transgression, even if that transgression was a serious one. Forgiveness, like grief, is a process. Both take time. And while there may be patterns to how they work, or even formulas to make them work, each person's path of forgiveness, like each person's path of grief, may be different. Sometimes part of the process of forgiveness may be a formal process of reconciliation, where each person talks about what happened, each talks about what they need to move forward, and each makes promises to the other. If someone asks for forgiveness or asks whether we forgive them, the response may be, "I'll try," or "I'm working on it." When a transgression has been serious, the expectation of forgiving and forgetting can dishonor our experience, as if it weren't significant enough to remember. Forgiving, not forgetting, means that we keep our hearts open. Forgiving, not forgetting, means that we learn from what happened so that we can protect ourselves from future hurts and set the boundaries we need to set. We may need to say, whether directly to the other person or in our own hearts and minds, "I forgive you, but I won't allow you to do that again." Sometimes when another person is toxic to us, our own well-being requires that we remove them from our lives in order to protect ourselves, even if we have forgiven them for what they have done. The hurts and losses of our lives are part of what shapes us, but we need not be defined or limited by those hurts and losses. Over time, through a process of forgiveness, the hurt diminishes in centrality in our lives. The point is not to forget, but not to perseverate or to dwell on the wrong that was done to us. The point is to put the transgression in perspective so that we can move forward in our lives. It has been said that forgiveness means giving up all hope of having a better past. That may be true in the sense that what's past is past. What's past is past and can't be changed. But what can be changed is how we relate to the past and how the past affects our lives today and in the future. I'd say that forgiveness means embracing hope for transforming the past. From the poem by David Ray that was our reading this morning. "Do you have hope for the future?" someone asked Robert Frost. "Yes, and even for the past," he replied. "Hope for the future, yes, and even for the past, that it will become something we can bear. That it will become something we can bear so that we can find peace." Forgiving, not forgetting, means that we come to terms with the past so that we can move on, carrying the past with us but not bound by it. It means that we can choose to build relationships, to rebuild relationships, if we and others in the relationship choose to do so. Forgiving, not forgetting, means that we may have regrets, things we wish were different, things we wish could have been different, but that were. Forgiving, not forgetting, means embracing hope for the past and for the future. To close, I invite you now to join in a litany of atonement written by Rob Eller Isaacs. The responsive words in this litany are, "We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love." For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our fears made us rigid and inaccessible. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For For each time that we have struck out in anger without just cause. For each time our greed has blinded us to the needs of others. For the selfishness that sets us apart and alone. For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit. For losing sight of our unity. For these and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness. May it be so in our lives and in our world. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing, "Thanks Be for These," hymn 322.
As we extinguish the chalice flame today, these are our words. As far as our love flows, as far as our hope grows, as far as our yearning goes, we are no farther one from another.
May we live our lives fully and creatively so that we may be a blessing to ourselves, to each other, and to all those whose lives we touch. I invite you to remain seated during the postlude for a moment of contemplation.